Right, ready to begin. Right, this year I decided to start up the Rhinophoridae recording scheme. One reason for this is on Facebook I put on a few Rhinophoridae records and asked if there was a recording scheme. And as you can see, Matt Smith said, if you ask this 3 times in a row, you end up being the national recorder. So I've asked 3 times and here I am. Right. Another reason for getting into Rhinophoridae, particularly this year, was that I had the lovely opportunity to visit Hartstock Nature Reserve in South Oxfordshire, a stunning bit of chalk downland. Sorry, finding Rhinophoridae there was very productive. 55 individuals with 5 species present. Rhinophorida lepidum, the most common species. This is probably a conservative number, as I only recorded specimens which were in my puta. Right, an introduction. So Rhinophoridae are also known as woodlouse flies, 177 species worldwide. They were originally coined as woodlouse flies in Cross Key in 1977. This was because their ecology outside of Rhinophoridae being Rhinophoridae parasitoids was unknown. They're also known to be parasitoids of Coleoptera and arachnids globally. They were originally classified as a subfamily of the subfamily of Trichogenous, later erected as their own family in their own right. 8 species present in the UK and 4 species in Ireland. I'll cover both. The recording scheme aims to cover both mainland Britain and Ireland. You can see here that the Rhinophoridae are in Oostroididae, closely related to sarcophagids, tachinids, and calophorids. Here is a table of the species present in mainland Britain and the species present in Ireland. Right. As you can tell, that woodlice are the main hosts of Rhinophoridae, particularly in the UK and Ireland. They have an interesting way of being parasitoids. Unlike canopids and tachinids, they don't lay their eggs directly on the host. They lay their eggs on the substrate, which is contaminated by secretions from the uropod gland of the woodlice host. Boswellia saber seems to produce the most of this secretion, and you can see it's utilised here by most of the species in Britain and Ireland as a host. The eggs are laid on the substrate, and then the larvae will hatch and will wriggle around for the host. They have a particular preference for woodlice that have recently molted, and they work their way up the legs and slowly feed internally inside the woodlice, feeding on the hemolymph and vital organs, eventually killing the host, pupating and hatching out as adults. How to identify a rhinophorid? They do have a particular jizz in the field and look quite similar to tachinids and calophorids. I'll go through some of the features to describe them. Petioles are a very useful feature within identifying rhinophorids. This is where the median vein reaches the radial 4+5 vein before the wing margin. Here are a few examples of the petioles in the UK species. 7 species have this feature in the UK, and always to the rules, there's always one exception, Trichogenous rubicosa. Warning, some tachinids also have petioles too. I have listed Catharosia pygmaea, Ereotrix, and other species down this side, which are more likely to be confused as rhinophorids. Species on the right-hand column are less likely to. Here's Gymnosoma nitens, which is brightly coloured and it's not overly bristly and doesn't look very much like a rhinophorid, so the confusion with this side is less likely. Subscutellans. Tachinids and rhinophorids both have subscutellums. However, in rhinophorids, the subscutellum is much more reduced, with a membrane clearly visible, which you can see here. And in the tachinids, the subscutellum is much larger, and that you cannot see the membrane attached. So we have Immaculata on the left and Aerorista rustica on the right. Possible confusion species are other calyptrates, such as sarcophagids. Particularly worn specimens could be mistaken as Rhinophora lepida. Lydina anea has a very superficial Rhinophoridae look, but it doesn't have a petiole on the wing. Catharosia pygmaea also looks like Melanophora borealis, which I'll cover soon. A few other examples there. Aegisops picolii is quite a rare caliphorid. However, this really has the superficial look of rhinophorids too, but it's pretty scarce fly, so not often found in the field. But one of the first species I'll go through is Melanophora borealis, a distinctive species of rhinophorid in the field, very charcoal black in appearance, widespread throughout Great Britain and Ireland, found on far in North Scotland and wet Cork, all across the country, possibly declining species, flight season May to October. This species has a strong association with urban environments such as houses and gardens. 10 records in the database which I have are recorded from house walls, particularly white walls. They've also been recorded in the natural environment on coastal cliffs. As you can see here on Facebook, many of the records that come up are on white walls around houses. So one way of finding this species, you could paint your house white, which could be a good method of discovering this species in your garden. It will be quite hard to see against some of the bricks, I would imagine. So that could mean the species is being under-recorded. Here's a comparison between Melanophora borealis. It has a much larger genus in comparison to Catharosia pygmaea. Here, it also, Catharosia has orange femora and completely black legs within Melanophora borealis, and the discal cell is much more elongated in Catharosia pygmaea and much shorter in Melanophora borealis. Immaculata is a distinctive species, widespread. Wing waving behaviour has been witnessed in the field. I witnessed this for the first time in Bursley Wood this year. It's fantastic seeing the individual run up and down the tree, waving its wings. Unfortunately, I couldn't get any footage of it, which was a bit of a pain. My camera wouldn't focus on my phone. This was noted as the most common parasitoid of Posilioscaba in bedding. It has yellow wing bases and a strong petiole, and also been picked up in moth traps. Rarely found on flowers, unlike other rhinophorid species. The most common species of rhinophorid, which you're more likely to encounter in the field, is Rhinophora lepida. Yarrow is particularly good for this species, I've noticed. It's found in a wide variety of grassland habitats on brownfield sites, chalk grassland, coastal sites. It could be confused with Phaenia funesta and Melanominana. However, with a 10 times hand lens, you can quickly identify this species in the field with its petiole on the wing, the nation, and protruding mouth, as you can see here, possibly confused with some worn smaller sarcophagid species. Phytodiscrepens. This seems to be a very local species, though I don't have a vast amount of data in the database currently, so that could change over the next couple of years as I gather more data. There's reports of it being common where it's present. It has 3 small indistinct stripes on the middle of the thorax. It has a small petiole, which you can just about see here at the end of the wing. In contrast to the more common species, Melanophora, that have 3 broad black stripes, which I'll show you in the next slide. It's found in a variety of habitats such as gardens, coastal grassland, heathland and brownfield sites. The other species, which is a bit more common and widespread, is Melanophora, where it has these 3 distinctive black stripes down the thorax, as you can see here in the slide. Widespread across England, with the records expanding to Lincolnshire and East Yorkshire, found in a wide range of habitats, particularly dry areas such as brownfield sites, short grassland, coastal shingle habitats, and possibly could be confused as sarcophagids in the field. However, sarcophagids do not have the petiole and have much redder eyes alive. Stevenium atramentarия, this is a very neat looking fly. This is my first Rhinophoridae I ever found. This is at Gatwick Airport, a brownfield site. Fantastic looking thing with a very strong petiole. Recorded in damp grassland, chalk grassland and clearings. There's one moth trap record so far on my database. All the palpi, antennae and body and legs are entirely black. The wings are generally clear, however there can be some shading along the wing margin and could be confused with Immaculata. However, if you have a specimen of either species, they can easily be separated under magnification under a microscope with their parafacial hairs and bristles. So Immaculata, they are completely absent, as you can see on the left here, and they're very strong bristles on the right with a few hairs. So this is a very good feature to use, particularly if you've got pinned material. Stevenia dissectoria, the most recent arrival, first recorded in the UK in 2000. Currently, all the records are situated in Kent and East Sussex. It has a particular fondness for coastal sites. However, it seems to be expanding its range. I had a single Ipswich record in 2018 on iRecord, females feeding on ivy. Wings can also be very shaded in this species. As you can see in this top right photo, I was quite surprised how dark the shading was, and that could possibly confuse people for Immaculata. However, this is very dusted, especially on the thorax and abdomen, so that should be able to rule out any confusion. The last species is Trichogenous rubicosa. As you can see here, the species without a petiole. This one confused me when I first found it in the field, thinking it was a tachinid. However, it does have a saving grace that it has this very obvious lobed fifth sternite adaptation, which is very unique. The species is found widespread with one Irish record so far. One Irish record so far and widespread across the country. Recorded from a wide range of habitats, brownfield sites, woodland, chalk grassland. How to look for rhinophorids? Rhinophorids generally aren't that abundant in the environment, excluding Rhinophorida lepida, which can be abundant in many grassland habitats in the summer. Best time to look for the adults is May to October. All the records I have currently are within this time period for the adults. You can look on various plants, such as yarrow, hogweed, wild parsnip, daisies, and other plants in the field. One of my methods is extensive sweeping of grassland with an entomological aerial net. I'll show you an example of that in the next slide. Other trapping methods which have been used are malaise trapping and pan traps for general Diptera, and as a result of that you get bycatch rhinophorids. Moth trap Bycatch as well has been reported, with 5 individuals currently on the recording scheme. 4 Pacquiao Immaculata records and 1 Stevenia Atramontaria. Looking around walls and houses, particularly if white, it's especially worth looking if woodlights are particularly abundant around the property. Peculiar Immaculata and Melanophora borealis both have some association with urban environments. If you would like to, you can also breed woodlice. However, they have quite a low success rate of parasitization, less than 2% in most cases, suggested by the Bedding PhD study in 1965. Here's me sweeping at Hartstock Nature Reserve. This is my preferred method of looking for rhinophorids on grassland sites. I'm surprised my bicep isn't huge from the amount of sweeping I did this summer. I swept pretty much every square foot of that side, I think. As you can see, my head was over the net. My head was in the net looking for any rhinophorids that were in the bag, and then using a pooter to suck out any individuals. What habitats to look for rhinophorids in? Floodplain meadows, brownfield sites, coastal sites are very good. Short grassland, heathland, woodland, and also urban environments, which I've already mentioned. So, what the scheme will aim to do? First of all, create a comprehensive national database. So I'll be using things like iRecord to gather species records, which I'm currently in the process of verifying all the records. I'm also digitizing museum records. I was thankful for Aidan at the National Museum of Ireland for him to send me all the Irish records. And I'm currently in the process of digitizing 350 records, which are in the Oxford University Museum of Natural History. Other things the scheme will aim to promote, awareness via social media, so Facebook and Twitter. Updates in the Dipterist Forum bulletin, so I'll provide a newsletter as records come in and state how the scheme's getting on. Another aim is to produce a provisional atlas in 5 years' time after 5 years of data gathering. As it's a very small group of 8 species, I'm not going to be overwhelmed with records, and hopefully this would give me a good focus to produce a good provisional atlas. Assist with understanding more about the ecology, behaviour and biology, and be a part of rhinophorid conservation status reviews in the future. Where is the scheme with the records? Here are the records of the species from highest to lowest. As you can see, Rhinophorid lepida is 58% of the records so far. However, this is still quite a small subset of that 1,136 records so far. I'd like to see how this total increases over the next 5-year period. Luckily, as I mentioned, it's a small group, so verification isn't an overwhelming task. 362 records entered into iRecord so far. How to enter records? I preferably to have them entered into iRecord with a photograph if possible. I'm also very happy to accept data via email. My own email address is ryanmitchell1994@live.com. Via spreadsheets, individual records or inquiries. I'm also active on Twitter, Facebook, on the Society of the Study of British Flies on the Dipterists Forum and the UK Diptera page. There are a wide variety of resources. If you're not aware of it already, Stephen Falk's Flickr site is absolutely fantastic and a complete must-see for British fauna, particularly Diptera and Hymenoptera too. Stephen Falk has also a test key, which is available on the Rhinophorid Recording Scheme page on the Dipterist Forum website. Olga Seville is currently working on a new Rhinophora key too, and on subscutellums and deciphering whether you have a tachinid or rhinophorid. It's worth visiting this link here on the tachinid recording scheme page. Another good reason to get outside, especially this year, COVID-19 hasn't been the most enjoyable year for anyone. So get out to your local nature reserves, get outside, look for flies, and all the better now you can go looking specifically for rhinophorids. Some acknowledgements. I'm very thankful for the Dipterist Forum for allowing me to do this talk today. Chris and Martin have been great help and guidance of setting up the scheme, and Lawrence Clements have sent me many papers and given me the Kent database, which is a good proportion of the database I have so far, about half of it. I'm very thankful to Nigel Jones and others for their assistance. That's my references. Any questions?
Thanks very much, Ryan. That was really
sorry.
excellent.
Sorry, I was a bit nervous for that and a bit jittery.
I for one did not notice, Ryan. Now we have overrun slightly, and I am feeling slightly sorry for Andy at the end. Don't worry, I overran as well, so the shame is on me. I started it. It's all my fault.
Apologies for that.
No. We have got a couple of questions, so I am going to pose them quickly to you. So the first one is from Stephanie Skip, and she is asking, is there an easy way to tell if a woodlouse is being parasitized by a rhinophorid? Do they change their behavior or look different?
I would imagine so. It's something I really need to look more into. I could give an answer by email or something on a later period of time. But I'd imagine, like many other hosts, their behavior does change while being parasitized, particularly in the last stages, when the larval stage is developed closer to becoming an adult before the pupation stage.
Okay, I know the scheme is new, so this isn't a criticism, but have you had a chance to do any rearing?
Not yet. I was thinking about it, but I think having boxes and boxes of woodlice would be interesting. Something I could possibly look into, especially with Stevenia deceptoria. We're not sure what the host is yet, so that information would be very exciting to know what it's feeding on.
Well, again, maybe that's something that the DNA is going to help us with. Who knows? Now, we have another question. This one is from Jan, and it's in the Netherlands, graveyards are supposed to be a great collecting site. Do we have similar experience in the UK? Actually, I'm now wondering, now that I've read that out, if that is a sarcophagid question.
I think there have been reports of rhinophorids in graveyards, actually, from some reading somewhere, but I need to follow that up and have a look into that. They could be found quite easily on pale coloured gravestones, especially Melanophora borealis.
Okay, so that's what we're thinking about here, then resting on the pieces of stone, gravestones.
Quite possibly, yes.
Yeah, okay, so that's an interesting thought. And we have one more question. Do we know the prevalence of rhinophorids in small populations of isopods?
It was mentioned in the bedding study that they up to maximum of 2% parasitization rate within populations. But I think that, yeah.
So that sounds quite low to me.
It is quite low, so you'll need a lot of woodlice to start rearing out the adults.
Yes, yeah, okay, that's interesting. Okay, right, now I think we should